Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us right here on the Sunrise Breakfast Show, which is coming to you live on Topstar Channel 110. And of course, our Facebook page is definitely open. That is PTV2 Zambia, where your voice continues to shape some of these national conversations. Now, Zambia's political landscape, particularly within the opposition, remains fluid and for many citizens increasingly unclear. Now, one question is that has emerged is the Brian Mundubile camp still part of the Patriotic Front, or has it charted a completely different political path, and ultimately, where do they truly belong? To help us unpack this, I am joined in the studio by Mr. Chungu, former Northern Province Minister and a key ally for Mr. Mundubile. Good morning, Mr. Chungu, and welcome to our Sunrise Breakfast Show.
Good morning, Rhoda, and good morning, dear viewers, wherever you are listening us.
Happy Easter to you. I hope you're having a good morning.
Yeah, we are, and we are thankful to the Lord Almighty for having made it possible for all of us to be here today, and indeed to enjoy the Easter holiday throughout.
Absolutely.
In good health.
Absolutely. Now let's go straight into it, Mr. Chungu. Zambians are watching closely, and quite a lot of us are confused and, asking so many questions. Are you still part of the Patriotic Front, or have you effectively, broken away? Let's start with a clear direction.
So, first of all, you need to know that as Zambians, we are a constitutional democracy. Mm-hmm. And a constitutional democracy demands that Zambian people must be free to associate and be able to make their their choices correctly. We, in this Republic of Zambia, we chose the multi-party democracy in the 1990-91, thereabout. And with that choice we made, it meant that people and the Zambians in general were expected to belong to different political parties. Mm-hmm. You do know that from 2021, when the PF lost the elections, the PF itself as a party faced quite a lot of challenges and issues. But most important are the issues that are in court, which issues have dragged on for a long, long time. And that has sent a lot of members guessing, but also worried. A lot of members also have been sitting on the fence trying to see which way the cases and the decisions will go. Right now we hear that there are also issues to do with what is called appeal. So with all these put together, it gives you a sense to say, well, there should be some unifying factor. And the unifying factor that came into being, which basically was formed by the late President Edgar Chagwa, may so rest in peace, the Tonsa Alliance, which alliance has brought together about 36 organizations, and these 36 organizations have said we are going to find and be able to rally behind a particular candidate. And in this case, they are rallying behind Brian Mundubile. Okay. So, with that in mind, I belong to the Tonsa Alliance, and I'm part of the Tonsa grouping, and I'm part of the supporters for Brian Mundubile in this quest for him to become the Republican president. So that is the clarity, and that's the clarification. And within the party, the Tonsa Alliance, you'll agree with me that the elections were held within the Tonsa Alliance, and the groupings, the members, chose to pick and elect Brian Mundubile. And with that, all the political parties that are members in that have decided that they will not field any other candidate during the forthcoming presidential elections. They will all field Mundubile, and that is where we are.
Now, there was a recent party convention that ushered in Makebi Zulu as party president. Do you recognize that leadership? What are your thoughts around that?
My thoughts are that, first and foremost, that particular convention, if you do recall, they had no name. Under which party did they go to the convention? So that Zambians are asking. And with those uncertainties around that particular conference, and even the electoral college, everything else was not properly defined. So from my point of view, my opinion is that that conference should have been defined to be called what. So it had no name. So for me, I don't even want to continue commenting on it, because I mean, Makebi is a colleague of mine, he's a friend of mine, and obviously I respect him. But really, that convention which was held, and held before the 27th of March, and you know what I mean by 27th March, people were expecting some ruling from the court, and it was held quickly before the ruling. And obviously you and me know what came out of that ruling. And if that ruling, the way it came out, how does it render that convention legitimate? I don't know. Is it illegal? I don't know. But the reality is that it had no name.
Now, Mr. Chungu, from the outside looking in, you know, the Patriotic Front appears deeply fragmented. What exactly is at the heart of this confusion? Is it, you know, leadership, ideology, or just simply maybe a struggle for control?
Well, first of all, this confusion that has been in PF for a long, long time has been fueled, sponsored, and indeed it has been properly crafted and strategically framed so that it continues to have this particular confusion. In other words, there are a lot of third hands that are a second hand, or a hand, an invisible hand, that has been on the hem of it to try and make sure that the confusions are not resolved. I mean, in a democracy like ours, you should allow political parties to operate freely within their constitutional provisions. But what has been happening is that each time PF feels that now they will be given a platform on which they can address the people, they can address the masses, they are stopped. But also you do recall at some point, if my memory serves me well, he himself, our own brother Mao Sampa, when he held that conference, he came around and said it was illegal. And therefore there was an application to do with a consent judgment, which judgment contained the issues of agreement that it be reverted to the owners and the rightful people. But that has not happened. So you could see that it's not about control, neither is it about leadership. It is about sponsored confusion, sponsored activities that have been going on within the PF. And unfortunately, it seems not to be ending. So for me, I'm just giving my personal opinion, because you do know, Rhoda, that obviously I'm not the spokesperson for PF, and therefore I wouldn't want to continue commenting on it further.
Okay. So with that said, and from what you said, you know, earlier on, you have chosen to align yourself with Mr. Brian Mundubile.
Yes.
What makes his leadership different, and why should Zambians place their trust in him amidst this, you know, uncertainty?
Well, thank you very much. That's quite a good question. First of all, Brian Mundubile is a Zambian. He's an accountant. He's a lawyer. He's a constitutional lawyer. Brian Mundubile is a politician. He's a family man. He's also a businessman, and he is a very good, what I may call, he's very humble, so to say. So these attributes put together makes him stand out among the others. If I was saying, he understands the operations of government, because he has been there, he has been a minister before, and therefore he understands the operations of the executive. He is a member. He has been a member of parliament and still a member of parliament. That gives him the understanding of the operations of the National Assembly. He has been a government chief whip. And you know, when a government chief whip, we are in charge of parliament, more or less all the members of parliament under your jurisdiction in terms of control, in terms of understanding, in terms of administration. And he was marshalling the National Assembly at the time, was government chief whip. But what makes also him more special and more is that he has been a leader of opposition. Now, that experience of having to marshal two sides of the coin gives him a massive experience and understanding of the operations of the National Assembly. Government chief whip, on the other side, leader of opposition. That makes him stand amongst all these other candidates that survive, including the incumbent president, because the incumbent president never was a member of parliament, neither was he ever a councillor. So for Brian Mundubile, he has both sides and he has experienced both sides, and he understands the operations of the executive, the operations of the legislature. But most important, you need to understand that by virtue of him being a lawyer, he also understands the operations of the judiciary. So the three arms of government, he has marshaled them, and he has the experience, and he can be able to understand when he gets the presidency, he will be able to understand the importance of separation of powers. But most importantly also, because of his experience and his understanding of the operations of the government, he is able to understand that the institution of governance must be given the independence that they deserve. So we have a person, we have a man in Brian Mundubile who is coming to become president of the Republic of Zambia with a lot of experience, immense understanding of how the SEC, the Zambia police, the DEC, the intelligence, indeed the Zambia army, the ZAF, ZNS, and all these governance institutions, how they should operate and be able to enhance the governance in this country. Look, what is happening now is as a result of us getting certain individuals, certain people into positions of governance who have no experience whatsoever. So we are now going into what is called job on training, which is taking rather too long, and the Zambian people are suffering. We have people who are doing what is called try and error, and by so doing, they are really making a lot of mistakes, which mistakes should not be allowed, because the person who suffers is the Zambian. So Brian Mundubile has all these attributes, and like I said above, he's very humble. He listens. He will understand. He will give you a hearing and be able to get the advice. Okay? Certain leaders that you are seeing floating themselves as presidential candidates may not have that particular attribute. If there is anything that you need as a leader, is humility, which Brian has. You need to have the art to listen and be able to understand and get advice, which Brian has. He also